Are you fatigued or do you have a severe fatigue problem? If so, you're not alone, as millions of others are troubled by this as well. I want to go through and share with you which foods are best at maximizing energy, as well as touch on which foods you should avoid that are actually robbing your energy. Now, before we get into it, if you haven't already, hit that red subscribe button and click that little notification bell right beside it so you never miss when I release a new video. And when you click that notification bell, select the all button so you're notified of all videos. So let's go through a couple other things first before we touch on the food aspect. We need to touch on stress and sleep. So if you aren't sleeping soundly and deeply every night and going to bed basically at a consistent time, so the same time every night, then you're most likely sleep deprived and therefore are affecting your ability to produce maximum energy. So I stress this a lot with clients and try to teach them ways and hacks to maximize their sleep and therefore improve their energy levels. And another one is stress. Now, I would need to do a whole separate video on that, but suffice it to say that both of these, so inadequate sleep and too much stress, can markedly affect your energy levels. So in today's video, though, I want to go through and discuss like the diet component to improving energy levels and maximizing your energy. So first, though, I want to address basically foods to avoid that are or could potentially be robbing your energy, and then we'll talk about the foods to consume to get more energy. So now what we actually kind of want to do with this is you're actually going to be a lot more successful in this, maximizing your energy by avoiding certain things, by basically avoiding certain things and then consuming the right things. So instead of just doing one or the other, we want to kind of attack it from both sides, so to speak. So avoid those foods, the wrong foods, and at the same time incorporate the right foods. So let's start with the wrong foods, the foods to avoid. So number one, kind of obvious, Captain Obvious here, as they like to say. Number one, we got to avoid sugar, all types of sugar, and then carbs, particularly refined carbohydrates. So that would be things like fruit, unfortunately. Not that fruit is bad, but we need to minimize fruit ideally, if not completely avoid it, at least for a time. Bread, rice, potato, grains, fruit juice, and then things like high fructose corn syrup. So if you're just starting out or you're getting back on the bandwagon, I recommend keeping your carbs below 20 total grams per day. So these types of foods that I just listed will give a quick boost in energy and then followed by a crash. We want sustained, consistent energy throughout the day. Number two thing that we need to avoid, not necessarily a food, but we need to avoid frequent eating. So the when we eat, okay? So we want to fully cut out snacking completely. I've done other videos on this, so feel free to check out my channel on the benefits of basically sticking to 2 or 3 distinct meals a day and not snacking throughout the day, not grazing. So let's touch on 4 foods to eat that are going to help to maximize your energy. So number one is going to be protein. So I want you to aim to get at least a moderate amount of protein per day, anywhere from 1.2 to 1.7 grams per kilogram of body weight. So this would be actually a minimum amount. If you can, ideally I'd want you to aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal or goal weight. So the weight that you actually want to be. So let's say you're 200 pounds, your goal weight is to be 140, you would eat 140 grams of protein per day. In regards to kilograms, this works out to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, as a general ballpark, you want to go for about 3 to 8 ounces, which is 90 to 225 grams in weight per meal, 2 to 3 times a day. So this range is wide, right? 3 to 8 ounces. So we would need to kind of refine it. If I was working with you specifically, we'd need to refine it to 1, your specific goals, and then 2, what your goal body weight is. But this is a good starting point. So the sources of protein that I recommend that are best to get your protein from would be red meat for one. I think that's the best source, particularly fatty cuts. Okay, fatty cuts of steak, fatty cuts of ground beef, etc. Also fish and seafood, such as salmon, eggs, as well as other meats, the fatty parts. So for instance, if you're eating chicken, you'd want to eat chicken with the skin on. You'd want to eat the dark meat of chicken as well. And then also organs too, so like liver, heart, etc. Now, the reason why, one of the reasons, there's many reasons why, but one of the reasons why you want to consume the fatty cuts of meat is that it will cause less of an insulin response compared to the leaner cuts of meat. And insulin we want to keep low, normal throughout the day. We don't want these massive spikes and then these drops. We want just a kind of an even keel throughout the day, a homeostatic level. You get a little bit of a blip, bump when you have a meal, and then it goes back to low normal. Number 2, potassium and magnesium. So these are 2 minerals that will really aid in maximizing your energy. So potassium is critical when it comes to energy levels, as potassium is involved in the sodium potassium pump, and we have billions of these pumps all throughout our body within our cells, and they generate the electrical battery for all the cells. So basically, potassium aids in muscle and nerve function, as well as many other things. Now, the requirement for potassium is actually fairly quite high. It's approximately 4,700 milligrams per day, or 4.7 grams per day. The potassium sources that I recommend are all animal meats, primarily. So I like people to focus on animal meats to get their potassium. But you also can get potassium a good amount from avocados. It's a great fruit. People don't really think of it as a fruit, but it's a great fruit. It's a great fatty fruit, as well as leafy greens and non-starchy vegetables. And now in regards to magnesium, you can also get magnesium from leafy greens and non-starchy vegetables. And magnesium is also critical in making energy in the mitochondria, which are the energy powerhouses of the cell. So in order to make ATP, which is the energy currency of the body, you require magnesium, okay? So on top of the leafy greens and this non-starchy vegetables, I also actually recommend taking a magnesium supplement, such as magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate. And I'll link below to the ones that I use. Number 3, B vitamins. So if you eat grains, you're actually depleting your B vitamins. So if you, and now obviously that's not a good thing. So if you aren't eating grains, good job, keep it up. And if you're not eating grains, then you probably don't need to actually supplement with B vitamins. But B vitamins are also involved in the energy factories of our cells, the mitochondria that I mentioned above. So those mitochondria are in all of our trillions of cells, and they're what actually produce the energy. So the B vitamins on top of the magnesium and the potassium, like I talked about, they're involved in helping the mitochondria function. So good sources of B vitamins are actually red meat. Seems like a very common trend here. Red meat and animal foods are the foods that we want to consume. They're the most nutrient dense. So I like red meat best. Organ meats are fantastic for that, as well as most other animal proteins such as fish and eggs. Red meat though and organs, as I mentioned, are best. Okay, I'll link below though to an organ supplement company that I purchase from to get my liver. I get beef organs complex. I get also a bone and bone marrow complex. I just personally don't find that these type of organs, at least the way I cook them, are very palatable. So if you don't like organs, you can just take a grass-fed, grass-finished, regeneratively raised, desiccated organ supplement and get your organs that way. And fourth and finally, fats. We need to consume fats as we want fats to be basically our energy source. So the specific fats that will help you produce more energy and give you more energy are going to be MCTs, which are medium chain triglycerides, animal fats, which specifically are saturated fats. And as a contrast to that, we do not want to be consuming vegetable fats, which would be from vegetable or seed oils. Okay. Also, a good source of fats are going to come from eggs with the yolks. Okay, the yolk is where the fat and the cholesterol is, what we want. And actually, an interesting fact about eggs is they're actually one of the most balanced foods out there. In regards to MCTs, just going back to that, a great benefit of them is that they actually are converted, the MCTs themselves are converted to ketones quickly in the body after you consume them by the liver, and then our bodies burn those ketones for energy. Just as a side note. So there you have it. Hopefully these foods to maximize, like going back, we want to maximize energy. So hopefully you found this beneficial. Hopefully this was helpful. If you just focus on getting those foods in, those best foods, and then removing the other foods, you're going to get your energy back and you will see how and that it works. Okay. Now just to recap, quick reminder on the 4 things that we want to focus on in regards to foods to consume. We want to increase our protein intake, primarily from animal proteins. We want to eat potassium and magnesium rich foods. I want you to get your B vitamins through the food that you eat. Again, primarily animal products, animal proteins. And I want you to consume healthy fats. Comment below with which ones you do and share others that you feel are helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts. Now, if you want to learn how to get started on a lifestyle to basically lose body fat, reverse chronic disease, and optimize your health, visit my website at www.tyronpiteau.com/newsletter and download my free guide on the 8 strategies for lasting fat loss and optimal health. And you also receive a free, no obligation 20-minute phone consultation. Now, if you think someone could benefit from this video, please consider sharing it anywhere on social media, as you may help someone, resolve their health issue completely, or even at a minimum, drastically improve it. Thanks for watching. Click the thumbs up button if you liked it, the button that looks like this. And remember to subscribe and click the notification bell and select all. So keep it locked in here on my channel, and I look forward to coming to you in the next video. Happy fat loss.